G'day guys and welcome to Warrior by Design. I'm your host, Benjamin John. Like I promised, I've got another awesome guest in today. I've got Benjamin Venes with me today. Benjamin has been an amazing mentor of my own over the years, a teacher, and he's allowed me to be able to come to a place within my life and get through a place in my life at the time to where I am today. This man was able to take this rough, ready, take no bullshit, didn't want to listen to anyone attitude from where I was there at that point in time to open me up to understanding and experiencing new things in life that allow me to be where I am today. Benjamin Venes is a Melbourne-based medium, healer, and artist. His purpose is to help people discover their own power, strength, and wisdom through compassion, creativity, and spiritual guidance. Benjamin's journey has taken him to places like India, Nepal, Southeast Asia, where he's also studied, observed, and experienced the awakening of his own spiritual power. He's spent many years dedicated to the disciplines and teachings of psychic ability, mediumship, and he has provided sound readings for people from all walks of life, from the old tradie to people that are right into this, to people that would be total skeptics, right? Benjamin is also teaches spiritual healing, psychic mediumship, and psychic development. He has weekly classes helping those who have desire to develop their own abilities and to look more into what their own capabilities are. He does this with a committed level and with a dedication that allows you to experience this in a day-to-day life that becomes a part of your life versus just another phase. Benjamin is a Reiki master and teacher. He actually has a creative expression through the works of poetry, paintings, and also novels. And I'm sure we're going to see him as an author not too long in the future. He works through these mediums of creativity in the expression of self to evolving into what he has life today. Benjamin, welcome to Warrior by Design.
Thank you, Benjamin. Good to see you. Long time no see, my friend.
Certainly has been, mate. Certainly has been. So pretty much what I wanted to go through today is like I have with everyone, right? So guys, Benjamin's a type of bloke. He's had a life journey that's led him to a place to where he is today, where he's actually helping and mentoring others, right? What I would like to ask Benjamin, if you could give us a little bit of your background and what you would have experienced that some would look at as struggle, or some would even see as their current experience today. Then moving from that place, from those struggles and experiences to what it was within your life that was allowed you to have a different experience moving forward.
Yeah, it's a big one. What's the motivation to change?
Yeah.
And I always say to people, what qualifies me to help anyone? I've failed so much. And I would say there's been so much failure that I used to be really ashamed of, but now I kind of wear it as a badge of honor. It's so I could understand and empathize with people. So I was someone that from a young age was really disconnected from myself. So always tried to be funny, always tried to be something for everyone else, but never really understood who I was. So it took a long time for me to get on track. So if you notice how people that procrastinate, or even though that person's got a lot of talent, but they're going to waste it, and you kind of go, what's that about? It's a self-worth issue. And I had a lot of that stuff when I was growing up. So even from a young age, I did experience violence. I became very violent as a way to protect myself and to kind of stick up for myself, which actually isn't my nature at all. I really don't like violence. I think now if anyone wanted to pick a fight with me, I'd probably go, I'd probably raise a white flag and go the opposite direction. I don't think I could have it in, to be honest. So, I'd love to say it's the opposite, that I would be brave, but who knows? So yeah, my journey has been one of moving from being really self-destructive to one of having to accept who I was, understand who I was, and take responsibility. Because for a long time, I didn't take responsibility in my life. Like everyone growing up, I wanted to play AFL. That was my thing. So I was good football when I was really young. And then I hit puberty and I was just a little stick figure, little, looked like a little orangutan, really. I was a skinny little thing. And you know, I just kind of got beat up. So it was a case of, well, that wasn't an option anymore. Those pipe dreams definitely went out the window, and they were, like everyone, as we get a bit older, realize it's a pipe dream. so that went out the window, and then I had to work out who I was. And to be honest, what I really needed was life experience. So I went and worked every crappy, horrible job that you could imagine. Sweeping floors, not that anything's wrong with that, working in factories, washing dishes, just really trying to find my way. And I had no confidence at all. That's what I discovered about myself. So I had to learn confidence, and I got that at times through friendship, which is really interesting. So through meeting different people. So it's interesting how in life we can take the long way around. We can think that we're totally lost, and I was for a long time. To be honest, I was going nowhere quickly. That was definitely it. But in part of that being lost, that was where I guess the artistic side started to come out, and that was a big part of my life before even what I do now, the spiritual side. So it's interesting how the creative side was part of my self-discovery, and the creative side actually led to me stepping into mediumship, believe it or not. So it's funny how that kind of comes into play. So look, I went into my 20s and studied. I always say, you know, I studied for 7 years, and then I started working professionally as a medium. So it's always great to have a degree or more and have to pay it back and never use it. So for those that have gone through that, still make your way in life. I traveled in my 20s to really discover who I was. Around Australia, I was always a little bit of a traveling gypsy. I'd have a backpack on and just go for 2 or 3 months at a time, come back, get some money, go again. And I loved it. I love that freedom. And I'll do it again tomorrow as soon as everything opens, to be honest. And I traveled throughout Southeast Asia, India, lived in those countries, have been there many, many times, and felt very uncannily at home there. I've never landed in states in Australia and felt, oh, I've experienced this before. So, you know, that sense of deja vu can kind of come in at times. So yeah, that was kind of what I did in my 20s. And then I reached a point where I started having more and more of an interest in wanting to change, and I guess the spiritual side of things and how that could help me change. But for me, I was on edge for a long time. So probably just hanging on by a thread in terms of staying on the planet. And that might be part of the empathetic nature that I have, or that sensitive nature that I have, that a lot of people can, a lot of empaths will get bumped around by life big time and won't understand what's happening. And I definitely went through that. But like everyone, I had my issues to work through. So I reached the point where I had to change, or I wasn't going to be here. It was as simple as that. And so I guess for me to get to that kind of extreme place, which was make your choice, and that the brutal reality of that, that brought in the choice of stepping into finding a teacher and finding a mentor to help me, which I had. And to be honest, that person picked me up by my bootstraps, knew everything about me, which is terrifying. Yeah, totally.
Shake up,
which you'll know. Yeah. And that's where, to be honest, I really started to change and develop. So yeah, that's kind of, and it's not snap your fingers and fairy tale kind of story. It's a step-by-step process. But my whole point being is, when I, say to people, life doesn't have to be, it's not meant to be perfect at this level. We're meant to learn. There isn't perfection. And sometimes what we see as good and bad aren't good and bad. It's just either easier or we like it a little bit more. Sometimes the hardest times are where we do learn the most. So, from the soul perspective, soul isn't interested whether it's difficult or not. It wants the experience. So again, whatever we're going through, if it's really, really challenging, my advice would be maybe that's what we need at this point in time. Yeah. And it's not about punishment. It's just sometimes the way that it is.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, in a nutshell, that's kind of what I got into. But I guess the creative side of things, the creative writing and all that kind of stuff, it led me to interviewing a medium. And I didn't really know what a medium was, but I found it fascinating from a young age. And I remember I was working a weird job in South Australia back in the day where I was mapping the power lines or power grid of South Australian remote places. Anyone that knows me knows that I'll get lost in an instant, even with a GPS. So I would go out for 12 hours a day, get lost, and come back and just go, I hardly did anything. It was terrible. It was terrible. I was terrible. Where most people would kind of go, there's nothing hard about this. For me, it was like rocket science. And during that time, this guy who happened to be, he was an engineer and he was also a medium, would give me half an hour to ring him up and ask questions. And for me, it was like a wonderland, because I was just like, well, I want to work out if this is real. And he was, basically giving me advice to allow me to understand that it was real. And the best bit of advice he did say is, you can let this hurt you or you can accept it as natural. And that had a profound effect on me, because at that time I was seeing spirit, I was seeing things, and I thought I had serious mental health issues. I thought I had schizophrenia, because I was not kind of seeing spirit as we see each other. And I found that very, very difficult. And so when he said that, I kind of went, oh, it's natural. It doesn't have to hurt you. And that kind of took the pressure off. So that's kind of how I got into understanding a little bit of the spiritual side of the mediumship side of things.
Yeah. And that's amazing. And look, to go back on a couple of things, you were sort of mentioning, and, for my own personal journey with, working with Benjamin and being a part of his classes, and also him mentoring me and teaching me over the years, for me personally, what I really loved about Benjamin and the way he worked was his own personal experience, his own personal teachings and whatever his own structure he formed for himself over the years. He was always open in telling everyone that was in class, though he would definitely have structure and discipline to be able to bring into our lives and we were able to bring it into our lives. Again, while there were certain expectations, there was also, and it was all also came back to us. What are we willing to do? What are we wanting to do? And is this something we want to do, right? But what I really found amazing was your openness to be able to be open to anything. Even though you were teaching things, you're always like, well, either take it or leave it. This is how it is. This is from my understanding. This is from my awareness. Either take it or leave it. And I found so much within that alone, because there was a freedom with that. I saw, although there was a lot of discipline and structure at times, that was my own personal thing too, with how creative and how much I took that on. Obviously, with my military past and my military experience, discipline and structure was something I took pretty seriously. So
yeah, you did.
That was certainly my own experience within that, though I had the freedom through your teachings to be able to experience that from my own place of being, from my own place of awareness, through your openness to be able to say, well, this is what I've been taught. This is what my awareness is. And I'm also open to it not being true.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the important thing. I mean, whether it's, whoever you're talking to, if you want people to be comfortable, it's not about people always being uncomfortable. When people feel accepted and understood, then they can be themselves. And when people are trying to develop or discover who they are, you want them to be able to be themselves or discover who they are in that. So yeah, even though development can be really intense. I mean, you know what it's like as soon as you kind of step into a development room, and some people understand this and some won't. It's a different story. It's a different kettle of fish. I do sometimes equate it to the discipline of martial arts, where when you're in there, you're in there to work, and when you're done, you're done. You're done with your lesson. But also allowing you guys to be yourself and discover who you are at that point, not telling you, is really important. And that's what self-discovery is, helping people discover who they are.
Yeah, 100%, Benjamin. And you can think back to when I was coming to classes, like, oh, mate, I was that type of bloke, like, just give me the bloody answer, like, I just want to know. I just want to, what's this, what's that, 101 questions, it's like, I'm just like digging. But the thing I love is even in that, you were still able to hold your space, hold your center, to be able to allow me to have my own experiences with that, right? Because as you said, like at times, even though I was like, oh, this bastard, he's not giving me the answers. He's not telling me everything I want to know, blah, blah, blah. How much self-discovery I had from that point of just you being able to hold centering, knowing that this is something I need to discover. This is something I need to experience. This is something that I need to come to my awareness with.
Yeah.
Was amazing, right? That was amazing. And I think, and I really, like, looking back now, I can really see how truly honoring that is to someone and in their own development.
Yeah, it's awesome. Sometimes as someone who uses their perception to try to help people, and sometimes the spirit world will kind of come through and say, this is the potential of their life path. I knew when you stepped in that, it was going to be a journey. It's going to be a journey for you, that's for sure.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, as it is for everyone. But at the same time, everything that you went through was not a failure. It was part of preparing you for what you're doing now and what you'll go on to do in the future. And that was the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's why it was... there was the awareness to help you, because you're going to go and help other people, and everyone's in development for their own, or people cross my path for different reasons. But I guess when people are serious about it, or that they're going to go on to help other people, you kind of maybe go a little bit further in helping them, because the spirit world are going, hey, this is a person who, if you give them the tools, then they're going to use it to help other people, not only themselves, but other people. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, look, and again, like that development aspect of things, and thank you for that. And look, I can attest to all that, though, like I certainly I've done some amazing things when it comes to being disciplined, and also being in a point of my life where I can really, I know what struggle is, right? And not just from, the mental health side of things, but even physically, right? Through my special forces training and whatever I did, I've been able to push myself to limits that some would see as impossible and some would never want to experience, right? I've pushed myself physically, mentally, to places, but amazingly, just sitting in a fucking chair, having discussions with you and doing the things that we did in development was probably one of the most challenging things. Although, if I'm honest, I never seen it as impossible. I never seen it as unachievable, and I never experienced it as, like, it was certainly challenging. It challenged my awareness. It challenged my thinking. It challenged the way I saw the world. It challenged a lot of the way I saw myself and all those sort of things. But it all felt achievable.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was funny for me is when I was a student, it didn't feel like that at all. Do you know what I mean? And that's where I guess the personalities differ, where for you've had that discipline, where I haven't. I was someone who was self-destructive, lazy, not disciplined. I could have done a million things and conquered them, and I didn't. So, waste a life or not. That's a lot of my regret, was wasting a lot of time. So yeah, that's a credit to you. But when I was a student, I was always like, I don't know what these people are talking about, that I'm going to work in the field. I've got no idea. That seems so far away and so impossible. And every class felt impossible. And then you reach a point where it feels natural. I guess that's kind of what happened for me. So yeah,
which is so awesome and amazing. Like even what you're saying there, Benjamin. Like you're saying, you've gone in there going, what the fuck is this mediumship? What is this? I don't even know what they're talking about. Blah blah blah. And you've gone through that whole different process, like you're saying, where I've gone in there going, nah, I'm going to fucking do this. I'm going to be a medium. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And here I am, we're total polar opposites in regards to you're totally working in the field now. That's who you are. That's what you do. Funny, that mirroring, right? Where I'm going in there going, oh, nah. And, when you first said to me, Benjamin, oh, look, I don't think you're going to be working in the field. I was like, fuck you. I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm going to do it now and I'm going to do it as best as I can and I'm going to do it every day of my life. And here I am on the other end of the spectrum, coming out of all that and going, though I know all that exists for me, though I know that's all within me, though I know it's always going to be a part of me and a part of my experience, and able to allow me to have the experiences I have in life, that's not the field that I work in, right? And that's something that I can take advantage and I can take to a total different, total different environment and total different way of doing things. So it's just funny how I love to, if you could touch a little bit more on, your experiences when you were coming into it, to what you saw going in to where you are now and how different they are.
Yeah, it's like how do you describe how do you describe a mini series in 2 words? Look, I stepped into development because I was pushed by the spirit world. It's as simple as that. So I was someone who again, very destructive, very rebellious, was always the artist, but wanted to be there's a comedian called Bill Hicks, and definitely I wanted to be very much like him. All right. Which is not the way to be. You can be influenced by people. You've got to find out who you are. So I was definitely influenced to go into a development circle, and I found myself in a room under a red light with a woman who was a medium, with other people I didn't know, sitting there going, okay, why are these people tell me about my deepest, darkest secrets and everything about me? This is a little bit confronting, and this is the last thing that I want to be doing. And but there was always, I guess, from my side of things, the echo of the voice of spirit, even from a young age. So for me, in the journey of mediumship and development and self-development, which is all one and the same to a certain degree. I remember from a young age, when I look back now, seeing spirit. It's not all the time, but definitely times where they were really clear. And I do remember that for me, it always wasn't pleasant because I didn't understand what I was seeing, but it was literally just the spirit world standing at the end of my bed. And I still remember when I was about 15, and again, it was a difficult time in my life, and all of the mediumship side of things was opening up. So I was really starting to see things, but again, there was no one to tell me what was happening. So I had to try to work it out. Yeah. And I remember my dad's dad, who was in spirit, walked, and probably is still, walked up behind me and stood so close and had his hand on me. I remember just yelling out, "I'm not ready." And I didn't understand why I was saying that or what I was saying at that point. But I look back now and I'm like, no, I did know. It just may not have been consciously.
Yeah.
And it took a long time. It took a long time to get to that. I was always interested in it, but it reached a point where, like everyone, you start off with reading all the books, and then you kind of go, why do I have an interest in that? That's weird. And then meditation. And again, I was not someone who was disciplined in any way. So I didn't sit and meditate every day. I just kind of meditated. When I eventually found a flyer at at some local crystal store that said meditations, I brought it home. And again, I was home in between one of my many travels. So no direction in life, just kind of wherever the wind takes me. And I put the flyer on a cabinet. And I remember saying, I don't know who I thought I was saying it to, but I remember thinking, if I meant to go to that, push it on the floor. Didn't even get the words out, and went and landed on the floor. And I went, it's a coincidence. So I went, and the woman was great. And for whatever reason, no one else turned up to the meditation circle. And it turns out the woman was a medium. So during those times, she would give me a whole bunch of information about the spirit world, about mediumship. And for me, I was just like, wow, okay, this is real. And then I was like, well, what does this mean for humanity if it's real? She's like, yeah, right. And then it went from there. So it was interesting how when I'd go and meditate with her, I felt so much better within myself. My day went better. And then when I didn't, I felt a little bit off. So it was interesting, even the trainings from that point. And then I went into development. Now, going into it then, who I was and who I am now, it's like a boy to a man. It's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's when you do this, when you step in towards reading for people and or mediumship, which is, providing proof of life. If someone's lost a loved one, your job is to not only provide proof that they're still around and pass messages on, it's to provide that healing. So you're helping two worlds at the same time. And it's one of those things where every time you sit for anyone or spirit, it's experimental. So if you try to promise people something, it's not going to work. And there will be times where you disappoint people, or people will leave disappointed because they want one bit of information. But you can't do that. All you can do is open up, and just like letting the sun come through the blinds. So just let that light through and then try to bring through valid information. So yeah, for me, as opposed to when I started, God, it's one of those things. Don't ever be defined by your mediumship, but it will have a very big influence on your life. Yep. And for me, it was all about confidence. And confidence is still a life lesson for me. There's times where complete confidence in everything that I'm doing, and then not. So I'm like, oh, okay. So every time for me, that's just a life lesson I've got to work on. So yeah, which is part of it, I guess.
Yeah, 100%, Benjamin. I think, I think if I could take this back a few little steps, because there's obviously going to be people listening to this, right, that are going to be oh, what's this shit, rah, rah, yada, 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 don't believe in it, blah, blah, blah. And that there's nothing wrong with that, right? As we both agree. And look, and I'm going to be open and honest. I've stood on platforms doing mediumship and doing all these sort of things too. And all I can say from my perspective is when I'm getting people, when I don't know anyone in that frigging room, and I'm getting information that's coming through and someone's telling me that's accurate and that's what it is. Now, there's going to be many interpretations on that, right? And people can say and have their opinions of whatever it is. But for me personally, what I've found, and I think you'll say might be important yourself, Benjamin, is really starting to have your own discernment and having the experiences yourself, because just taking someone's opinion or a book's opinion or an education or whatever, no matter what we do, like I've gone through stuff with you with the psychic development, I've done martial arts, I've done special forces training, I've worked with other people that, look at energetics totally differently and do different other aspects. And could I say there's one right way? For me, fuck no, right? But certainly one thing I found for myself is personally, and I'd love to know your opinion on it, is when I've been able to explore for myself and being able to have the experiences myself and discern for myself, I've been able to open myself, no matter what that is, open myself up to different possibilities, different ways of thinking, different opportunities, to the point that I'm allowed to, I can create a different way of being, a different reality, a different time in life.
Yeah, it's levels of development, I think.
Yeah.
When you're, and look, if it's meant to be for us, it will be. If it's not, I've had so many dreams of I'm going to do this, and it's never happened, and it just wasn't meant to. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
When you've got your feet firmly planted on the ground, but you see the sky's the limit, then yeah, that's the way to be as well. If you've met those people that don't, and I used to be one of them, absolutely. But that just don't let themselves live, don't let themselves step into their potential, don't even entertain the idea that it's possible. Yeah. And you're never going to be fulfilled in that.
Yeah.
You're not, because there's no happiness in that. There really isn't. And that's the whole point of it with, why are we here on Earth? And so I remember a lot of people go, well, your purpose is to be a medium. I'm like, no, that's what I do for a trade. That's what I do for work, believe it or not. Yeah. And I do it from a point of, yep, it is an innate ability within me that I want to use to help people and to feed my family. It's part of it. But, why am I here? To become everything that I can.
Yeah.
And that's for everyone. And everyone is born under the same sun, but different circumstances. So those different circumstances can shape our lives. It's how we understand that and how we overcome that at times. So just because something's right for me doesn't mean it's right for anyone else, because everyone's different. But when we get to that point of being able to see ourselves clearly, see what's right for us and know ourselves, so that the people that know themselves always go, yeah, that feels right for me. Or they're really open and they go, you know what I know about myself? I probably wouldn't do that. Or I know this about myself. They're really kind of quite steady and open with their flaws, their vulnerabilities, but their strengths as well. So it's not about talking about yourself in the third person, not one of those people. but what you'll find is everyone's journey is different. And to be honest, if we make the most of our opportunities, then and we do it in a way that we're confident, it usually comes together.
Yeah.
It really does. Now, that also brings in belief in self, because our beliefs can shape our reality. They really can. And also energetically, if you look at things, everything is vibration, everything's energy. So for me, I run a business based on referral. There is no advertising. And it's not said to gloat or anything like that. It's just, I wouldn't do it anyway because I'm lazy. And I wouldn't know what to do. And to be honest, in this field, if you're advertising, you get a lot of great comments and you get a lot of bad comments from people. So if someone is quite religious, they don't like this. Or if someone thinks that you're a fraud or ripping people off, you can have to deal with the negative there. But in terms of how does business come in, look, when my energy is in a good space and my vibration's quite high, I'm packed out. When it's not, it slows down. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge, isn't it, Benjamin? Like, it really comes to a point for me, well, it has for me personally, is, you know, the more that I'm kind of able to experience different things, like even on the energetics, we touched on the energetics things, right? Like there's such a like science and all medicine and everything is really starting to hone in on some of those aspects, right? It's really starting to try to understand what energy is, right? Well, what is this radiating energy that's coming from the heart that seems to be 20 seconds before anything other aspect or whatever? You know, what is this stuff that's going on with ourselves energetically? And from a scientific point of view, at this point in time, we are aware that everything is energy, right?
Absolutely. And the spirit world have said, which I took a while to try to understand, that the universe is holographic and not in a computer simulation kind of way, but in a vibrational way. So we're a lower density of a greater reality, I suppose.
Yeah. And look, for me, that kind of resonates as well, even from a scientific point of view, right? Because they're talking about quantum fields, they're talking about all these energetic spaces that are out there and all these existences. Now, when you said that, straight away, I had that vision when you say holographic energy. Well, that a hologram is literally a 100% energy space that is the way I kind of perceive it is 100% energy space that has directed energy into certain aspects to create form, right? To create matter, to create certain situations. So a hologram itself, therefore, exists right within this could exist within this energetic space. The difference between us other being able to perceive that or see that is the forming of energy into matter or into space, right? Into a confined space to be able to physically touch, see, or experience it within this matter. Yeah. So that totally makes a lot of sense to me, right? Saying that it's a holographic space, because the difference between energy and physical is literally the forming of energy into how would you describe it?
You've described it really well. The rate of vibration. So the really good one is where people go, well, where is the spirit world? And we always say up, and I'm like, yeah, but we're in a globe that's rotating around. It's like, which way is up? Spirit world is all around us.
Yeah,
it exists in the room around you. Now, if we could raise our energy or raise the vibration, I guess, of our dimension or the field that we inhabit, we would see them clearly. So you've got to remember that when mediums work, their vibrational, their power is raised. That's why if you ever step into the room with a medium or close to a medium when they're about to work, you can feel that when someone's a medium, it's a certain energy.
Yeah.
And it's a strong energy. And it doesn't matter about their personality. You could have someone that is, the personality is quite simple or you don't get on with or whatever, but the vibration of their energy is that of mediumship. Now, it needs to be a little bit higher so they can shift their consciousness into the spirit world. And the spirit world themselves lower their energy in order to do that. But, you know, how do we get to that space that in terms of not so much the spirit world, creating reality and manifesting, it's all vibrational. It really is. And as soon as because it's a wave of energy that creates a field of energy, if we can put it that way. Yeah. So we have a magnetic field, which is known as our auric field. And that magnetic field is affected by many things. When we're in alignment, that magnetic field will be in harmony. Okay, or that vibration will be in harmony. And when we're trying to manifest, we send the thought out through our auric field or moves down through the layers of our auric field into the physical reality and creates that.
Yeah, totally, Benjamin. I think, you know, if we sort of trying to bring this back for some people that may never have even experienced any of this stuff or thinking, what the fuck are we talking about? And it gets to a point for me where if I try and bring that back a little bit, it comes to me, we'll go, think to your own experiences. Don't worry about what I'm saying, what Benjamin's saying, what anyone else is saying. Think to your own experiences. If you've had experiences in your life where you've, you know, picked up the phone and someone's calling it just as you're picking up, and you're just about to call them, or you've had a situation in time where, you know, you call someone up, I was just about to call you today, and you're like, yeah, bullshit, mate. You say that every time I call you. I wonder if there's a coincidence there, you know, or there's those moments that are happening in your own life that you would say, like, if you, for instance, like the Gandhi behind you, Benjamin, or the Dalai Lama, or people like that, when you're around them, you can't help to notice something. Now, whatever that is for you personally, when you're around people like that, there's a different, you notice something different than from when you stepped into being near them or around them. And for some of them, it could be within the same town as them, you know.
Yeah.
You notice something different, right? And, you know, science is bringing this into reality. Like they have done studies of people meditating in a certain town and seeing shifts in energy and shifting in things happening. Now, I think for me personally, like if we talk about science and all this, you know, science versus this or reality and all that sort of stuff, well, how can we start, if we're going to talk about science, why are we ignoring these aspects of science? Why are we ignoring these aspects of science that are telling us that there's something out there that we don't completely understand? And I think for centuries, it's been explained in so many different ways. And for me personally, I find it could be quite arrogant to just completely disassociate that there's any possibility of some of these other energetic aspects being relevant or true when I don't know for myself. I'm not a scientist. I haven't done the research. I haven't done whatever, but I certainly have experiences within my own life that I can say that I can't explain that.
Yeah, of course. And there's so many different arguments, isn't there? I always say, look, give me a compassionate atheist over, you know, someone who's religious and fundamentalist. So it doesn't matter whether you believe in this or not. We've got to start to understand the nature of who we are, the nature of the reality in which we live. And then from there, we still don't know what we are. No, that's the amazing thing. Now, the beauty of science and the beauty of things such as cosmology is to explore the origins of the universe and how it works. And that is a very, very spiritual exploration. There will be a point where there would have to be a breakthrough in understanding where they kind of realize there is a different dimension and many different dimensions. But I guess just like we've got our oceans here, if there was to be a scientific, and there has been, by the way.
Agreed.
A,
Yeah.
a scientific or a mainstream scientific breakthrough in terms of there has been contact made with what we believe to be what's known as discarnate people, or our loved ones that are in the vibration of the next dimension, the next sphere, would be a beautiful thing. Because we've got to remember, they're in their world, we're in ours. Yeah. That's the most amazing thing. Now, the funny thing is, with a lot of groups in terms of mediumship where it's investigated, you have the scientists coming back from the spirit worlds. It's not people like you and me going, this is what we believe. It's men of science. It's men of women and men of science and medicine. So they come back so they can help create that communication between the two worlds, not only to get rid of the biggest lie on the planet that has always been used as control, and it has been used in control, is that there's death. Because we don't die, we just step into a higher level of existence. That's all it is.
Yeah. A different vibration, right?
Your life continues. It's as simple as that. We go into the spirit worlds tomorrow, and don't worry, you're not. But if the only, apart from having to deal with who you are, because we're the ones who judge ourselves, the pain that you would have is not to physically be with your loved ones. That would be the pain. But having said that, we go at night to the spirit worlds and go back with our friends in the spirit worlds and our loved ones in the spirit worlds and spend time with them most nights. We just don't recall it.
Yeah. And again, Benjamin, I think, it's really important. Like, again, if we try and bring this to our own experiences of people who would have no frigging, like, what the hell are we talking about? Like, when we start talking about some of these things, well, what is Deja Vu? Like, everyone's got their own interpretation on it. Everyone's got their own explanation about it. But it's something that some of us experience. It's something that I would say a majority of us have had some sort of recollection with Deja Vu at some point in our lives. We've had potentially some sort of experience within our lives that allows us to see, well, I can't explain what I'm experiencing. I can't explain what's happening. I can't explain what I'm feeling, what I'm noticing, we've talked about, people walking over our graves, which is, that chill feeling or whatever, or all these other things and I think personally for me, the more that I was able to explore certain different aspects in the energetics through science, through what we do, through the ancient teachings, through all different types, the more that I was able to have my own awareness about these things, the more that I'm able to experience and know these things from my own awareness, from my own personality, from my own experiences, the more that I've been able to have less fear, feel safe, be in a situation where I can go, okay, well, what is this?
Which is understanding. Yeah.
Totally. And now if science is actually coming to a point where they're talking about this stuff, which they are, there's, without going into your beliefs or not, there's massive disclosures and things happening at the moment, whether they're right or wrong or whatever, or, it's the right way of doing it or it's not, whatever. There's things being discussed in our today's world that would have been blasphemy or, whatever back in the day, right? So I think it's important for us to start doing our own exploration and finding things out for ourselves that feel right for us. If I was starting this journey again, Benjamin, and I just, you're just some dude you met on the street, and I said, look, I don't know what's going on in my life. I don't know what to do. I know that everything I'm being told, I can't say that everything I'm being told is true. I just don't know what to believe. I don't know where to do. I don't know how to change my life. What is there a piece of advice you could give to someone like that in starting the exploration for themselves and figuring out what discernment is for themselves?
Yeah, I'd say that maybe being lost isn't the worst thing, because it means you're questioning. It's just not to allow that to become your reality long term. So yeah, that can be part of the journey too, where we start to question reality, and not in a disassociated way, or where people don't believe that reality is real. It is real. That's why we're here. If you don't think it's real, then kick your shin against the table. It'll hurt. It's real.
Yeah.
I would say start off slow. Go and sit in a meditation class and learn to sit with yourself. And for a lot of people, that's really uncomfortable and they run from it. But I'd say sit with it. Keep going. Keep going for 3 months, 6 months. And then as you do that, start to look at the self-development side of things. Then as you go into the self-development side of things, you'll go, okay, what makes me tick and what do I want to do on this planet? Yeah. And how do I become more independent so I'm not working for a boss, or I'm not working 9 to 5, or I'm not in this reality. Now, when I say it's like the Matrix, not really, but it's a matter of you don't have to go into the structure of beliefs that have been created in the Western world.
Yeah.
Because you've got to remember, colonialism has impacted most of the world. So that mindset still has an impact on everyone. So from my side of things, I'm always like, I may never be rich. If I am, that'd be great. I don't believe so. I don't have a boss. I'm not dictated to by anyone. So when you get to that point of kind of going, okay, I'm starting to feel free. I'm not under the thumb of anyone. I don't have that reality. I believe in myself and trust in myself, and I've found what's right for me, whatever that is, and what makes me happy. And so what more you can want.
Yeah, totally. And I think, look, I think that's really important is being able to gain back what we would say, lack of a better word, is some control of our own experience, right? Some control of our own awareness and what we're experiencing within our lives, in a sense that having choice. We have choice to do things. We have choice to be able to experience things. We have choice to be able to create that life that we may have seen as unachievable, or we may have seen as not accessing, and being able to move past what has been, when we're talking about, matrix and false realities, we're talking about what we've been told from young kids, that we work 9 to 5, we pass the house, we do this, we do that, from the Western society, certainly within Australia, certainly within, our country. This is certainly some sort of belief is, you work your ass off, you do as many hours as you can, and you pay off your house, and that's how that's your achievement in life. Now, why those things are amazing and beautiful, and I think, it's still a great achievement to have, how we achieve those can become a choice. How we achieve that reality, how we achieve that safety of having our own home that can't be taken away from us, or whatever, however that safety we find for ourselves, or even realizing that, again, not putting this out there, but realizing that maybe you don't need a house for that safety. Maybe there's another opportunity out there for that person personally. But what I really want to, I suppose, emphasize on it is it's really about exploring how you move from what you would say, if you do an experience that is not one that you pleasantly love, or not one that you enjoy, or not one that you really thrive in experiencing at the moment. How do you shift from that to that life of choice and having the experiences that you want? And I think that's important, where you say moving past what we currently know is the frameworks to work within, and thinking, potentially, you hear this saying all the time, thinking outside the box of how can I achieve that in a different way, a different manner.
Yeah, and you can't be afraid to be uncomfortable. So if you're wanting change, at some point you're going to have to change. So you can't leave what's known and step into a totally, and some people they can, but usually you cannot do it. You've got to go through a level of being uncomfortable. People usually panic or run back to what they know because it's safe and it's more comfortable, which is totally fine. It's neither here nor there. But, you talk, the whole podcast is about the worry, well, that without being corny about it, that the path of the warrior itself is to walk a path that most people won't. And that does mean being uncomfortable. And that does mean there would be loneliness with that. There would be isolation with that. Mediumship is a lonely journey because it's like for any author or artist, it's you. It's you with it. Do you know what I mean? And so the spiritual journey itself can be a confronting one, but you can't be afraid to be uncomfortable, and you can't be afraid to see all aspects of yourself, the light and the dark, because we've all got that. We've all got it.
Yeah. And I think
that does exist.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, right? And it's like, what we call light and dark. Well, I've come to, I think for me personally, the more that I'm able to accept that that's me, I am me. I am me. I am me in a whole. I am me. There is no light without the dark, and there is no dark that is not light. So it's a really interesting thing to the more and I'm going to be completely honest. When I first come in, I was like, what the fuck is all this light and dark and this and that? Rah rah rah. At the end of the day, what it came to for me was, if I want to put it in a sense that's just straight out there, coming to terms with every part of myself in a sense that I feel safe, comfortable, and confident. I feel that I can be me and I can support me. And, we talk about this inner child, we talk about all those other aspects and this and that. Well, literally, that's me going in and speaking to those aspects of me as a child growing up that form these beliefs, that form these experiences of a created reality of, I can and can't do this, and if I do this, I this is going to happen. And it's really coming into myself and going in and sitting with that aspect of myself that grew up as a child, especially now as an adult. I can do this, but it doesn't have to be from a certain age bracket. You can do this at any age, talking to the younger aspects of yourself or supporting yourself from there on in. But for me personally, going in, looking, going, I'm supporting little Benjamin. I'm supporting that little dude to go, you can be as authentic as you want, man, and I'm going to support you through all that, and I got your back, right? And being, as you said, and not being afraid to be, and feeling safe enough to be uncomfortable, feeling safe enough to be judged by others, and being okay that I'm going to survive, that I am me, and no matter what other experiences happen, that's not going to change.
Well, absolutely, and it's part of if we're wanting to grow, we've got to be vulnerable at times. That's part of it. So we can't be afraid of that, and that doesn't mean weak. It doesn't mean you have to have deep and meaningfuls with people. Sometimes it means you have to delve into aspects of yourself that you don't like. And I always say, like, sometimes when you really see ourselves as we are, sometimes we go, yeah. And it's not from a judgment perspective, it's just, I'd like to change that about myself. And that's the really cool human experience of, I guess I would say being authentic, but becoming all we can be. But it's also about wearing your heart on your sleeve sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
And you got to back yourself. That's the thing. If you don't at some point back yourself in life in whatever you want to do, then it's not going to happen. And we can always say, I'm gonna, but tomorrow never comes. So, there's only now to bring in change in life. And it's not to say that what I say is right or how I live is right for anyone. But in my experience of how I've started to live, it's much better. It's much better than being disconnected and afraid and worried about the judgment of others. Yeah. So my advice would be, if you're wanting to change and develop, sit with meditation, because meditation brings in self-observation. And then from that point, you can look at the self-development side of things, which is normal now. You look at sporting teams. I nearly fell over a couple of years ago when I saw my favourite football teams doing breath work. And I'm just like, goodness, I could have taught you guys this 10 years ago. And they're just doing deep cycle of the breathing. I'm like, that's great. Now they're earthing. And I'm like, okay. Now you've got to remember the younger generations coming through are going to be much more aware.
Yeah.
Much more aware. The only negative side is the technology that they're born into, which has its pros and cons as well. But guess that's getting towards information being limited.
Yeah,
but that's another story.
Yeah, it is. And we might be able to have that chat at a later date, because it's definitely an interesting one. I think it's something, interesting to touch on, definitely. Because, I have the same awareness with my children. But yeah, personally, I think, like I just said, so moving from that development aspect, it's really, it's about taking the small steps, right? Because, like I'm the type of person I've always said is 110% or not at all, right? I used to always say that 110% or not at all. But in reality, the small steps is what got me to here today. The day-to-day, moment-to-moment steps that I took is what allowed me to be the person I am today. Now, did that happen in 1 hour session? I would have liked to have.
It doesn't, does it? It doesn't. Right. You'd love to say it. Look, sorry to keep talking about mediumship, but it's what I do as a craft, and I always say, where am I at with it now? I'm still learning, and the further along the path that I go now, the more I realize, I don't know anything.
How true.
So that's kind of how it is. It's just talking about the small path. This is what's known as a seance trumpet, which is used by mediums for certain things, or to communicate with the spirit world. Now, I bought that of a great, what's known as physical medium, and he sent through a great letter of encouragement. And he said, the spirit world wanted me to pass on, the small step is still the way forward. So it's interesting you brought that up. And it's really true, because I was getting really frustrated going, why isn't everything happening that I want? Then that message came through. Even the small step is still the way forward. So in life, the only way forward is forward. It really is. Yeah. So if we kind of remind ourselves that, because we always think that there's an end point or a destination. It's not. There's just each choice leads us to a greater reality. That's all it is. And that'll continue in our life. And that'll continue into the spirit worlds as well. We'll get there and realize, like, my goodness, my choices got me to this level of awareness in the spirit worlds. Look how amazing it is. And then, I'm on a journey. Well, yeah, it's a journey, but there isn't any destination. There's just greater opportunities for existence. That's really what it is. And that's amazing, isn't it? We kind of go, whoa, it just gets deeper and bigger and more amazing. And it should.
And it's certainly, like, that's exactly how I perceive it to be now too. And the funny thing is, though, there's people that go, what's that mean, right? And and what do you mean there's no destination? Like, we're always trying to achieve something, which is, though, yes, we can still achieve things moment to moment, so on and so forth. Though, as I think, the more, like what you said before, the more that I learn, the more that I know, that I realize I know fuck all. And then there's going to be so much, everything changes, everything adapts, even our science, everything we've learned through science and everything we've learned as a society or as a species or whatever, it adapts, it moves, it changes, and it evolves, and it continues on. So for us to say that this is one factual, distinctual thing that we're never going to be ever change, I don't know. I can't see that as a, how can we be definite? Yeah,
we're not. Life changes and evolves. Everything does. Civilizations come and go. We don't take our body with us into the spirit worlds. We take our experiences with us and the emotions of those experiences, and they stay with us.
Yeah.
So that's why the material side of things isn't that important to the spirit world. They want you to feel safe, happy, have a home, feel fed. Everyone should on the planet. That's why the age of materialism that we're in, where it's too much. There's, and it's kind of always been that to a certain degree, but it's a very materialistic age. That's why possibly we're going through all these changes too. So we can come back to that humility of understanding that it's the simplistic way. That's probably the best way, maybe. But, what we take with us into the spirit worlds is the experiences of our life and the emotions, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you so much, Benjamin. It's been amazing. And, I'm not going to lie, it's my journey within your classes and having you as a teacher and mentor, was a huge one for me. And it was something that allowed me to be the person I am today and allow me to have that. And I think that's very important for people to realize is our experiences, whether we see them as bad or good, allow us to have an experience that could be different in the future, that allows us to have a choice of being different or being someone or what we're going towards. And all our experiences make up who we are in this moment, right? All our experiences, whether we see them as good or bad, allow us to be made up to who we are in this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And, watching you develop, it's watching people develop in general when they kind of move through the system of training or development is really great. All right. There's no great thanks usually for helping people. The thanks is seeing them happy and healthy in their life when they didn't think that they could be. Now you look at where you were, lost, dazed and confused, a shadow of yourself to now. You wouldn't have thought that that's possible, but you took that step forward. That's the important thing. At some point you can go, just that step forward is enough.
Yeah.
Because that step forward gives you the opportunity for growth. And that's the amazing thing about our life. Even you will have people that have been in the most horrendous situations in their life, or even in war zones. And they were just like, that choice that I made, that decision that I made, that step forward, that to sometimes dare to dream that I can have that reality, changed their life. So yeah, it's a pretty cool thing that you've done that, dude.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Benjamin. Appreciate everything you do for everyone, mate. It's an honor. Can you just please tell everyone where they can hit you up if they want to, get in touch with you?
It's just benjaminvenes.com or benjamin@benjaminvenes.com. So yeah, not doing too much at the moment because of the situations, but still available for readings and stuff like that. But who knows what I shouldn't say that. Who knows what the future will bring? I should know. Who knows what the future will bring? I've been asking, but I've got no idea. But I do know that next year seems a lot better. So we'll hopefully that's true.
I hear you.
It's so good to see you on the podcast. But it's a great thing, and I'd love to see your development in this platform. It'll be a really interesting journey, I reckon.
Yeah, I think it will be. And I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much. Before you go, I just wanted to see if I could ask you one more quick thing.
Yeah, of course.
So if you were to go back in time and spend 30 seconds with yourself, what word of wisdom would you share with yourself, your warrior within, to create a life of design? Also, at what age would that be and why?
Okay. So at what age would I go back and say that? Probably 15 or 16. I think around that age.
Yep.
And I'd probably say you're stronger than you think. You're stronger than you realize.
Yeah, awesome.
And that'll probably be enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't have to hate yourself. That'd be a big thing, but I'd say you're stronger than you think. And that may have been enough.
Yeah, I think how important. I think I think I could go back to myself at that age too and say the same thing.
Totally. Absolutely.
All right. So yeah, thank you once again. Thank you, everyone. And remember, explore, create, and be. Well, thank you for listening. If you found this episode valuable, please take the time to like, share, and subscribe. It really does make a difference. It helps others out there explore their warrior, create a life of choice by design, and be all that they wish to be. Remember, explore, create, and be.